I wanted to start off with a real interesting story from yesterday. And it emerged quite late last night. And that was surrounding the situation with Mikel Arteta. Now, Mikel Arteta, as we know, his start to life at Arsenal was very difficult. But what he has built is a team that is now challenging, in my opinion, 2 years running for the English Premier League. There are still a lot of question marks over his ability to land the major trophies for Arsenal. And I think those question marks are justified because he hasn't won one yet. So to question it is, I think, normal. Now, there's a big story that emerged yesterday that stated that Mikel Arteta was ready to leave Arsenal at the end of the season and potentially become the Barcelona manager. Now, this news, it did send a shockwave through the Arsenal fan base and the Arsenal community. Whether you're somebody that was upset or shocked or frustrated by that news, or other individuals that were ready to crack open bottles of champagne and celebrate, with us knowing that Xavi is leaving or has been fired from the Barcelona job, there is an opening now in the summer. And Mikel Arteta's name has been mentioned by a number of sources from Barcelona and Spain as a candidate that they are interested in bringing to the Camp Nou to lead them forward. Now, of course, depending upon your disposition with Arteta and Arsenal, you're going to react to that in multiple ways. Now, it didn't take long, though, for the British media, the British journalists, to come out and shut these stories down. You can see one here that has come from Standard Sport, that's the Evening Standard, that Arteta has no plans to walk away from Arsenal at the end of the season. Arteta remains committed to Arsenal, where he is contracted until 2025. He has always played down links to Barcelona and stressed his commitment to Arsenal and is determined to win major trophies with the Gunners. Now, this is a statement that's come out from via the Evening Standard. We've seen a number of other outlets, including That's Football, also push a very similar story. So the Arteta camp and Arsenal are standing shoulder to shoulder and stating that these stories are completely untrue. He is committed to Arsenal. And this is in the backdrop of other stories that claim that Mikel Arteta is very close to signing a new deal as well. So it's one to keep an eye on, in my opinion. And I say that I'm not trying to crap upon this news. I think journalists right now are only reporting on what they're saying. But I think there is a chance that he goes to Barcelona. Maybe not this summer, but at some stage and at some point. I think it's something Arsenal fans should be open-minded to, giving the fact that he is Spanish, that managing Barcelona is one of the biggest jobs in the world. That doesn't mean he'll leave this summer, but it's certainly a story, in my opinion, to keep your eyes on. I wouldn't, if I was an Arsenal fan, discount this story as absolute nonsense. I just wouldn't. I genuinely wouldn't. And that isn't a dig at Arsenal. It's just my personal feelings around this. I think he stays. I think he signs a new deal at Arsenal. However, do I think Barcelona are genuinely talking to him? Or have they started those early conversations with his camp? Probably. Is there an interest to some degree in that job? I believe there would be. Why wouldn't there be an interest in managing Barcelona, managing Real Madrid, managing the two of the biggest clubs in the world, especially for a Spaniard? I think there is some credibility to that. And depending on how this season ends and how this season goes and how the future looks, Arteta may be more and more inclined to look at that situation. Why would he not? What if his season at Arsenal starts to fall away, but Barca is still interested, as an example? So look, I think it's highly unlikely, but I don't believe it's a big, fake, made-up lie by a Spanish. I don't think the whole thing is a lie. I don't quite believe the extent of he's going to quit at the end of the season. But I also don't think it's a nothing burger where there's no credibility to the links, at the very least, is what I'm trying to say here. But look, I don't think he's going to leave. I think he's going to remain the Arsenal manager. The big question is, does he deserve the new deal? Does he deserve the new deal? A lot of Arsenal fans were furious about the idea of him getting a new deal before the end of the season. Why is it being discussed? I want to gain your opinions on that. I want to know how you would feel about him being awarded a new deal at this stage, at this moment in time? Let us know in the comments section below what you think and feel regarding that. That's a really weird comment. Scary Arsenal. I don't even get the context of that banter during this moment in time. Let's have a look at some more of your comments surrounding this story. If you guys are indeed, sometimes you guys are just chatting to each other. Arsenal fans are over the moon. He's staying. Bitch, what you happy for? I get what you're saying there. I understand the context of that. Not yet, Terry. Wait until the end of the season. That's what Mafia Boss has got to say. I agree. I think Arsenal should wait until the end of the season. I genuinely think they should wait until the end of the season. There's no doubt about that in my mind. Why would you not? I think you've got to assess it then. Excuse me. I don't think you should be assessing the situation now. I just don't think it's right. A few people asking, why would Arteta be interested in Barca? He's a Barcelona boy. He's a Barcelona boy. I swear he came through their academy. I'm pretty sure Mikel Arteta came through the youth academy of Barcelona. I think he even played, I want to say he played for their B team before moving to Paris Saint-Germain. So he's a Barcelona guy. He's a Barcelona guy. Terry, you know, new undeserved contracts demotivates. Sorry. Oh, I've got a frog in my throat and I can't get it out. Yeah, I understand that. I don't think Arteta is, I think Arteta is upon the edge of deserving a new deal or not. And that's based on what he wins and what he achieves this season, how far they are from the top, which is why I think they should wait at this moment. It's LB. Hope you're well, brother. He says, I think he'll probably stay. Barca's finances are in the mud. Difficult job. Listen, listen, that's a great point as well. I think that's why I look at the situation and think to myself, is he interested in the Barcelona job? Of course he is. Of course he is. But would he leave? There's multiple reasons why he may. There's multiple reasons why he wouldn't. I don't think he's about to quit either at the end of the season. I think that is a fabrication on the story. At the same, a lot of people are saying it's the Barca links that are saying this. It could also be the Arteta. If we're gonna play conspiracy theory here, could also be the Arteta camp that's leaking it. Wouldn't that make Arsenal fans demand he gets that new deal quicker? There's multiple ways you can look at this. But yes, I agree. Going to Barca right now is a great point, LB. I wouldn't do it. Unless Arsenal are not offering you a new deal and don't want to renew, I wouldn't take. Yeah, you're right. I probably wouldn't take the job. Arsenal is a better place to be right now than Barcelona, which is, you wouldn't have said that 5 years ago, but you would say it now probably. I'd love to get your views and your takes on that, people. Big up LB, who's on the Top 6 show later today. And, of course, I love Straight Facts on Tuesdays with him and Dan Potts tomorrow. So make sure you're all tuning in to that. This comment here, Ibuka says, Arteta needs to leave. Fred says, Arteta doesn't deserve it. Expand on that for me, please, my friend. Comment here for one of our members, Studio Hooks. Long time, Studio Hooks. I haven't seen you, my bro. He says, Arteta getting a new deal signifies Arsenal's value in stability. No matter how much people cry and say get people like Ancelotti, there is no guarantee that someone like him would win anything. Oh, that's a really good point. It's a good point because there is facts in that. There are facts within that. There is no guarantee that a better manager wins trophies either. Stability is also a key component of competing and success. But there does come a point where you'll have to gamble on that stability by trying to better Mikel Arteta should he not lift the major trophies. There's only so long you can go on without winning the major trophies, no matter how good your manager is. When, by the way, you're a club of Arsenal standing. If you've got the budget of a Burnley, a budget of a Brighton, the budget of a Bournemouth, I don't know why I mentioned teams with B, but I did. If you're making top 8, top 6, oh, they made the Champions League, oh, they had a good cup run, and you're maintaining very high standards in the most competitive league in the world, and you're competing well above your financial bracket, you're punching above your weight, then I understand the idea of changing one of those managers to try and go one step further is a huge risk that is maybe likely to backfire because you're already punching above your weight. When it comes to Arsenal, one of the richest clubs in the world, one of the most wealthiest clubs, one of the biggest spenders, one of the biggest wage bills, when you look at the whole of football, once you get to a stage where you're nearly winning league titles, you're going deep into Champions Leagues, you have to, at some stage, go, okay, it's 4 years now with competing without winning these things. And I'm speaking hypothetically. I know it's not been 4 years of competing for Arteta. Maybe we should look for somebody else. But it has to be a better manager. You can't just get rid of, in my opinion, Arteta and go for another fledgling manager or a completely unproven guy, because you're already at the top, almost at the top, and you need to get over the line. At the same time, listen, Pep and Klopp, I've seen Gooners that have said Klopp's finished a year ago. Finished, they said. Now wanting Klopp to come, oh, we should sack Arteta and get Klopp. You're not getting Klopp. Like, that's, again, I find that to just be a bit of a snidey thing to say to your audience, because you're not getting a manager like him. It isn't happening for love nor money. It just isn't. So I do like what you've said here, Studio Hooks, but there is huge amounts of nuance to what you have said here and situation. I just don't think you can apply that blanket rule of, because we're stable, never change manager. I think it depends on what club, who the manager is, who else is available, and how long you've been stable for. Because if your club has built a stable foundation, you should be able to cope with the changing of a manager without falling apart. So there we go. There we go. Terry, what's your definition of a farmers league? Really good question. I look at a farmers league. If we're going to, I don't actually use that phrase myself, but I view it as where the top 2 or 3 teams are really good and can compete with anybody in Europe. But once you start dropping below that, the standard becomes very, very poor. And I'll give you an example. If you've got a team, let's just take Man City, the best in England. If Man City could rotate their team for a Premier League game on a Sunday, because they have a Champions League knockout game on a Wednesday, but in that rotation, they'd left out all of their best players, then I would say the Premier League's a farmers league. You can't do that in England. City couldn't leave out 6 or 7 of their best players and rotate their main 11 for a Premier League game on a Sunday to keep people fresh for a game on a Wednesday. That, for me, demonstrates the lack of competitiveness in the league. And I've seen PSG do that, by the way. I've seen them have games where they've got a big Champions League match, and I've seen Verratti, Quinhos, I've seen Neymar, Mbappe, Messi, all on the bench or not even in the squad for a league game because of a Champions League match. For me, that's when that's what I would consider to be what the kids call a farmers league. Genuinely, that's what I would call a farmers league. Genuinely. So yeah, that's how I define it. You can't do that in the Prem. You can't do that in La Liga. I don't think you can do that in Serie A. I don't even think you can do that in the Bundesliga. I don't see teams doing it. So those 4 are the big 4 leagues for a reason. Outside of that, not so much. Lee hearing, listen, I guarantee Lee was happy when he heard the news about Arteta maybe leaving, because Lee wants him gone. And listen, I've always said about Lee is entitled to have that opinion. He just is. The only element I disagree with when it comes to Lee is he's like, go and get Ancelotti. Ancelotti's not joining Arsenal while he's at Real Madrid. So it becomes, who he wants to replace Arteta is better than Arteta, but isn't attainable. So my point is, who's attainable that do you think is better? Because that's when it becomes a more open debate or a harder debate. Zidane isn't coming in to manage the team in England right now. Jurgen Klopp isn't going to manage another English team, especially not right now. Ancelotti's not available. Pep's not available. So who is out there? I don't see Diego Simeone coming to Arsenal. But maybe that's the only one that I say of an elite level, world-class manager who I think is probably attainable for Arsenal if they paid the money. Outside of that, you're going for more untried, untested managers. Genuinely, in my opinion. So that's where I get Lee wants him out. I just don't agree with all the people he thinks should replace him. Not because they're not good managers, but because they are not attainable. So it's like saying, Man United, man, we've got to sell Rashford. Who would you replace him with? There's only one player I want to replace him with is Mbappe. And if we don't get Mbappe, I'm going to be angry if we get rid of Rashford and don't sign Mbappe. But I'm setting myself up for failure because that's never happening. So it becomes I don't know what the word for it is. It almost becomes like a circular opinion. And I don't even know if that's a real phrase, but it's what way I view it in my head. Almost, you're angry at the manager you've got, but or player you've got, but you know you're not going to replace him with the target you're abstaining to. So even if you get rid of that manager that should make you happy, you're going to be angry at the end result because you're not going to bring in the person you want, but you know that person is not attainable. It's almost like you're creating this cycle where you can remain angry. That's how it feels to me on the outside looking in. And people are, do you get where I'm coming from? That's how it feels. I look at it and go, but why would you even make yourself believe that? Because you know you're probably going to be left angry and disappointed because you're creating a scenario that's very unlikely. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.